So we go into Friday and Donald Trump says, guys, look, we're going to start hammering tariffs. We don't tell you exactly what's going to happen, but I'm going to start hammering tariffs again on China in retaliation to what they're doing against America. The market starts crashing. You can see we start dropping. And again, everyone's like, this isn't a crash. It's not a crash yet. Okay, it's not, right? You dropped $18 on Friday, but that's not a crash. 3% down basically is not. Right, we'll go into the charts here in a sec, but it's important to understand that's what's happening, giving you the timeline. Then from there, at market close, he comes in and says, look, we are going to be increasing tariffs basically to 100% on China. After hours, we get a little bit more downside. Goes into saying, look, we have that meeting we're going to have with China. We're supposed to be meeting with President Xi in South Korea in a few weeks, but is that even going to happen now? Is it worth happening? That's where we're at right now. That is exactly where we are. Now, the market doesn't really know what to expect. And a lot of you guys are watching this and you're like, okay, well, earlier in the year, we had all these tariff concerns, but they really didn't lead anything and the market boomed back to all-time highs. Now, it's highly likely. It is highly likely that we find a bottom over the next few weeks and we start to surge back up, especially going into the end of the year, which historically is the best time for the market. But things could work out the opposite and things could just keep going down. Trump could, really get aggressive against China and nothing can get resolved. We have to kind of play it by ear. Now, today, what I want to do is break down what I'm looking at. So over the past few videos, a lot of people have been saying, well, what do I buy now? What do I do this? Now, first of all, you need to be doing your own research. This is not financial advice. This is me going through the stocks, giving you my opinion. This channel is used for me to basically go into the market, talk about what I'm looking at, what I'm liking, and really bounce ideas back off each other. That's what I use social media for, okay? There's no get rich quick scheme. It's simply this. You put in work, you put in hours of work, and you pray to God that work pays off in the end. That's really what most things in life are all about. And I think that that's really worked well for me. So when you see me posting videos here every day on Twitter, on TikTok, whatever it may be, live, etc., that's me putting in work. Okay. Now, I don't gatekeep. I talk about everything that I'm looking at, everything that I'm watching, everything that I want to trade. So you guys kind of get to go back and forth with me. And I will say, this channel has been awesome because there's sometimes where people come at me respectfully, which I want that dialogue. I want you to say, hey, Tyler, I don't think that's right. I think this news kind of contradicts, and I'm like, oh, I was wrong there, right? So again, understand if you do want to comment, I love to read your comments. We really read everything. If you want to get a hold of me, if you want to get a better response from me, I think Twitter really is the best way because I can just go into charts, I can show examples. It's all there for you. You'll get a better look at kind of me as a person. So again, that's there for you if you want to, get that information. The link for that is down below. But let's get into work. So today we're going to be separating the video into two different formats because everyone has two different ways of wanting to make money. And sometimes when I voice things here, I think it's a little unclear, or maybe it's not unclear, but maybe you misinterpret what I say. So let's talk about two different ways of what I'm buying and what I'm looking at buying. Okay. And number one is shorter term, trying to make money off the market right now and take advantage of what's going on. If you haven't watched my previous videos, basically this is what's happened. Okay, let me give you a quick synopsis. Okay, we had our kind of trade deal worked out with China. China came back and we have restricted China on a lot of chips, right? Which is the basis and really the future of the global economy. Okay. And we said, look, China, you're not going to be able to get NVIDIA chips, a giant list. And these companies have to go through all this scrutiny to work with China, basically. Okay. And China seems like they've had enough. And they're like, well, look, if we're going to do that, then what we're going to do, we have all the rare earth materials, which is every product. Basically, if you want to make a chip, you got to go to China because you need their materials. And so China, this is their way of getting back at us, right? And so they said, we're going to make it extremely difficult for any of your companies to get product. We're going to restrict it, etc. And that's where we are right now. Trump basically said in my last video, I went into like a deep dive about this, but Trump basically came on and said, well, that's unacceptable. We're raising your tariffs. And that's where we are right now. And I will say, like I said in the beginning of the video, a lot of people expect this to be the same scenario as February, March. It's totally different now. I think Trump was trying to set a tone and kind of level playing field in his mind, right? Early in the year. Right now, this is retaliation. This is to survival, trying to lead, win the AI race. That's what's happening right now. Okay. That's important to understand. So this could go on longer, and these tariffs really could take effect November 1st. I 100% believe that could happen. Okay, so let's talk about what we're looking at, what you should be considering. Okay, so for the short term, right, making money now, making money off this move, right? So if we go back to what happened with Russia and Ukraine, this is a great example. We knew based off of Russia and Ukraine, when Russia invaded Ukraine and everyone stopped buying Russian oil, we knew oil and energy prices would skyrocket because Russia was such a large player and they just got blacklisted. So the demand would go, basically, it would stay high, but supply would go down. So we knew price would surge. That was the best example I could give. Okay. So right now, well, what is that oil? What is that energy type play? And in my opinion, there's two ways you can look at it. Number one, the oil play here is your rare earth materials. That's number one, right? What this is all stemming from. Number two, you can go into defensive stocks. Now, this isn't the oil play, but these are the stocks that will most of the time do well when the rest of the market is getting hurt, right? Think Coke, Pepsi, Walmart, Costco. It's the essentials of our economy, basically, right? So we're gonna dive down that, and I don't want to make this a crazy long video, so hopefully we can do this quick as possible. We'll go into the other names here in a second, but understand this is more shorter term, and I still think these are good long-term positions to hold. I want to highlight that, but these are the names I could expect to go up in the next few weeks, even this coming week. Okay, so let's start going down this. We'll start with rare earth material stocks. Now, in my opinion, there's two ways I would go about it. I'll throw in a third, but number one, the best, the creme de la creme, right? MP. I think MP is king. MP is the number one North American rare earth material company in the game. Number one, that's who they are. Okay, now I want to be totally transparent. I want to be 110% transparent, okay? So if you guys ever want to see what we're trading, how we're trading, the Discord link is down below. That is paid. I want to make that really clear. But like I said, I make tons of content, so there's never me gatekeeping. This is more of me like hand-holding throughout the day and just going through my thoughts because I can't make content 24/7. But one thing in this company, I did buy this a while back, but I sold. Like, so, and I just want to highlight, because again, I think Discord is just basically like a catalog. I don't ever delete anything, so you can fact check me at all points there. But if you go back to earlier this year, I was buying MP materials around $20 to $25. Well, fast forward to right now, again, literally March 2nd, right here. We were buying it right here. Continues to hold 23. We're looking for 26 and 28 and 30. Well, spoiler alert, you exploded, right? So you're way up here now. And honestly, if a flat top here at $78, $80, this could really start booming towards 100. So I like MP materials a lot. I think it makes sense. I think where it's at is a good spot. And also too, they're going, anything that Trump is doing, with Greenland, right? Or the Ukraine deal, what we're doing there. MP, in my opinion, will be the beneficiary if we're talking about any company out there. Okay. Personal opinion, what I'm looking at, what I would say there. If you want to have less risk tied to one stock, you can go for the ETF, REMX, the Rare Earth Materials ETF, which is actually, funny enough, down on Friday. So again, worth mentioning, worth watching. If you want to look at any of these, this is what I would be watching there. Another name out there, this isn't necessarily rare earth, but I will say, when it comes to the non-rare minerals out there, lithium is probably one of the biggest deals out there. LAC, Lithium Americas, I was kind of careful to mention this because if you don't know why it got this big pop was because America took a stake in the company. It's funny that they're doing this now, right? And they popped. Well, I want to see a pullback. So honestly, where I'd be looking for these reaction from buyers is ideally right here near 750, but you also have the gap down here to $5, $6. I don't think you're going to come down to 4. We'll see. But again, this is what I'd be watching. I also, and you can see all the way back here as well. That's why I was zooming out. I already knew this level was back here, right? You can see right there. So holding 750 would be major for LAC. Now, upside $10 plus. Again, it's a cheaper name, a lot more risk associated. And honestly, if I'm looking here, I'd be going stock. I wouldn't be going options. I wouldn't be going full risk. There's no reason to get full risk here. My personal opinion. Those are your rare earth materials, or just material names in general. LAC is going to be a big player no matter what. I'd be watching them. And they are, again, one of the biggest lithium companies out there. There's a reason why America took a stake. Okay. Now from there, defensive names, right? Going back to this list, defensive stocks. And every time I say defensive stocks, people think that I'm talking about like Lockheed Martin or Raytheon. I'm not talking about jets and explosions and we're not talking about that. We're talking about defensive names and for your portfolio. And in a way, the best way to describe this is like a moat, right? If you have like let's say a castle, right, is your, let's draw a quick little picture for everyone here, okay? So this is our portfolio, or our house, okay? This is where we keep all of our money, right? Well, let's say that we have, you know, we have different streams of income coming in, right? There's different streams coming in from every angle, right? But what we want to do, ideally, is you have an economic moat around you, right? This is your safety valve. And Warren Buffett is one of the kings of doing this, right? And so what a moat is basically you dig this giant trench around the castle, fort, whatever you're doing, and it's filled with water, and it's very good for defenses, right? And so you can choke point, etc. So what this does, this moat here, is your defensive names that aren't going to crash typically, typically ever, right? And so these are your really, really safe names. So this is what you bet on when things get tough, right? Now, these aren't going to be your big winners. These aren't going to be your killers that make you 200, 300. It's not going to happen. You might get lucky. But that's not going to happen. So that's important to know what you're looking for, why you're looking for it. And that's what these names are right here, defensive stocks, okay? And so going down this list, I'm just going to speed go through them, okay? Pepsi, one of the big ones, okay? Pepsi is a big one. That's why on Friday, again, you shot up, okay? You can already see you're already going up. Pepsi's also getting back above the 200 SMA, which is, I would actually get rid of the 50 MA here. But again, your 200 SMA, you're back above this. Massive level, more towards 162, 164. You could be looking for that. You could actually go for options on these names. I'd be careful, but worth mentioning, okay? Next up, KO, Coke. Coke is another big player, and Coke is actually a beautiful chart right now. If you get back above $67, I would be looking for a push towards the 200 SMA near 69. And again, you might think, oh, it's only $2, $3. Go look how options move on Coke. Go look how options move on all these, right? Or if you just want to buy stock, once again. And again, these names typically don't go down on the long haul. I want to make that really clear, right? These are the most consistent names. Like they just go up. Like even during okay, you had your COVID crash, one of the only names that just bounced back immediately. 2022, I'm sorry, back here. Go look what happened. You had your initial little drop in 2021, but all 2022, you were basically just going up. A little bit of a dump, but then pop right back up, right? So again, worth mentioning, worth watching. Over time, higher lows are the name of the game with a name like Coke. But again, Coke is getting back above this level here at 67. Big name to be watching. What I'd be watching there, okay? Another one out there, I'd be going towards Walmart. And the way that you can think of it, and you can find these on your, I'm just going over the biggest names out there for you guys, and you can find these for yourself. And the way that I would be thinking about this is okay, let's say the whole market, no one has any, let's say no one in America has money, you're struggling. Where do you have to go every day? What do you have to get, right? So for me, thinking about in a logical way of what do I need to survive? I have to drink water, right? So what stores do you have to go to, right? Where are consumers, no matter what, going to go? Important thing about Walmart, big player here. Now, despite this move and what happened on Friday, Walmart's still holding up very strong. Walmart's actually been a really solid player of where we're at. As long as you're holding above 100, 100.5 here, I like it a lot. And honestly, all-time highs are right there, which is kind of crazy to say out loud. I get it. It's insane. Really, all-time highs are right there, 106, but above 105, you're looking for the explosion. So as long as you stay above 100, I'm a fan. If you get below it, I'd be looking for the 200, then I'd be careful, okay? Another name out there is Costco. And another way we can look at these is how do these names recover after the immediate dip of tariffs? Now, it's important to realize what happened with tariffs earlier this year. If you look at them, you're going to get an initial drop on all these names. But that was a panic rush in the entire market because Trump came out and said, "Hey, by the way, every country in the world, we're going to tariff, even our allies, we're going to tariff you 50%." And we're like, "What the hell? What the hell?" That's really what happened. So, and then obviously you bounce back very quick before the rest of the market done on Costco. Okay, so Costco, again, you're below 200 SMA, which typically I don't love, but it's worth mentioning. Costco still looks strong. I think you need to be watching this, right? As long as Costco staying above 924, I think this could get back towards 960 and possibly the 200 SMA near 970. You saw the rejection we had there. What to be looking at? Again, if you can get above the 200 SMA, you have a lot more 990, 1,000, etc., but you still look solid. So these are my top 4 defensive stocks out there that if I'm trying to make money now, to the upside at least, that's what I'm focusing on. Okay. Now these aren't my long terms. These aren't what I'm looking at. I'm buying the dip and I'm going to, do what we did back in, March, April, right? That's not what these aren't Nvidia's. These aren't the names that I'm looking at. I'm like, okay, these names could keep dipping. These aren't that, right? We have to understand the difference, and I'm trying to make it as clear cut as possible. Okay, now these are what I would say is riskier. Now, not even necessarily risky, but you expect more of a dip. Like you're buying the dip, waiting for the recovery. Okay, and I say long term, but I don't even really think I mean long term when I'm talking about these. To be totally honest. To be completely honest, because again, the dip could subside quickly. Very important that we're understanding this. So there's 3 categories we're looking at, okay? Drinking coffee in a video, it's actually nuts. Which names carried us to highs? Meaning, what's already performed? Now, this is the biggest thing that I look at. I'm gonna be totally honest with you. Now, obviously, you wanna make sure that the revenue, the growth, all of that makes sense. You wanna make sure that makes sense. However, you can't go wrong with this. In my personal opinion, you can't go wrong with this way of thinking, right? So what we did back in February and March is I was like, look, there's a lot of names I like, but there's one name I'm buying. If there's one name that I'm willing to bet the house on, it was NVIDIA, right? I said, look, we're buying 2 years out. We're buying leaps. I don't have to think about this. It is what it is. I'll buy some other names, a little bit, sprinkle some money there, but this was the big winner. And you don't have, that was honestly risky in my sense of putting a lot of my eggs in one basket. But that was just my confidence in NVIDIA, right? And that's kind of what I told most people, okay? So very important to understand that. And a way that you can look at this as a difference, and we can get rid of the drawings here so you can see like in how good NVIDIA has done from that dip. So NVIDIA dipped all the way down to like $90 and it's back at it's at 190 new all-time highs. You know, some names didn't recover that well, like Apple, right? Apple dipped down to 175, which is still a great bounce. It's just now getting into its previous all-time highs. Amazon never made it back, right? Still great bounces, still good money, but like you never made it back there. So some names will outperform. So it's important to understand where you're at, what you're buying, what you're looking for, and why, right? So for me, I don't think the AI bubble is burst. I don't think that chips are going anywhere. I still think, you know, the names that carried us, which are semiconductors primarily, and that's who literally America, Donald Trump is betting big on these companies, signing deals for, you know, getting them to make their factories, create jobs here in America. I think there's a reason why he's doing it. So again, I like to bet on those types of names. There's other names in that list, but we'll go back into that in a second. So important to understand that. And primarily it's going to be tech and semiconductors, right? The risk there is you're expecting this right here. You're buying the dip, waiting for a recovery. So you're just gradually buying in. If you're going options, you're going leaps. I still think buying leaps as high is concerning. I'm not crazy about it. I'd be waiting a little bit. Okay, stocks we know aren't going anywhere. This is another great metric, okay? This goes back into the name of some of the names that didn't perform as good, but still great overall names. Let's go through some of those. Apple. Apple stock is not going anywhere, okay? Apple's not. Last time I checked, every time I go out in public, if I were to snatch someone's phone, 9 out of 10 times, it's an iPhone. Apple products are going nowhere. And it's also worth mentioning, Apple, this new iPhone, which is crazy, was their best-selling iPhone in like years. So again, really good to see that on Apple. I think that's one of the biggest signs of buying Apple right now. That makes sense. Number 2, a name like Meta. And again, these are still tech names. I'm still going down this list because again, tech names perform very well. And again, going back to that dip you had back in April, you literally dipped down to 495, say 500 bucks, and you went back into all-time highs and made, you know, all-time highs near $800. So $300 bounce, crazy. Okay, Meta's not going anywhere. Now, some of you might be saying, oh, well, Facebook, you know, Facebook is slowing down, man. TikTok, okay. Meta has, I believe, between all of their platforms combined, their total user count is upwards of 3 billion people. I want you to really contemplate how many people that is and how much data they have. As of right now, they're probably the king and queens of user data. Okay, Meta is not going anywhere. That's one of those companies for me, right? And again, I'm not going down like the cheap stock list right now. These are when you got big dips like this. In my opinion, if you're getting aggressive stock market pullbacks, you want to buy the big boys, right? Because if you take a step back, and again, I don't think this is going to be a long-lived dip. Maybe it is. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? But look how often you get big dips here on like a name like Meta. You had one here, but the previous one went all the way back to 2022, and you really never got another big dip. You had a little flash dip off of earnings, and you bounced right back up. Important to understand that. Most stocks, the good ones, the Mag 7 names, go up for a majority of time. Very important to understand that. I would lean towards Netflix, and I don't think Netflix is going anywhere. Streaming is just a little bit, but I still think they're the best streaming service in the game. Subscriber count continue to go up. It's very good. Amazon, another big player. Kings of e-commerce right now. Insanity. If you're buying any, I literally think I get an Amazon package to my house every other day. It's actually the craziest thing. My wife I don't know if she's addicted. I don't know. I think there's literally 3 people on my street getting an Amazon package every single day. Okay, very important to understand that as well. Okay, those are some of the names that I would throw in there. You could also throw in Microsoft. I mean, there's tons of names you could throw in here, but that's the way that I'm thinking. Okay, less risk in the sense of, is this company, could it be a bubble, right? That's how I'm thinking about these. NVIDIA would also be in this category. Gonna let you know that right now. Okay, very important metric to think about. Then you get to your last category, and this is where you get to have a little bit of fun. This is where a lot of you guys are like, about time, Tyler, full send time, right? Let's send it. Big risk, big reward. This is where you can make a lot of money. Okay. Now that doesn't mean I'm saying go, 2 weeks out and time the bottom. No, that means you get to go into cheaper names that you like. Cheaper names that you think have a lot of promise, could be maybe the next Palantir if you really think that, right? So you're going to get dips across the board on most of the time on everything, right? A lot of the names people are watching. So let's use a name like Tempest AI, which Tempest AI is not really dipping that much yet, okay? But I'm going to use this one as an example. So let's say you think, okay, there's names out there in the market that are untapped right now, right? They're on the breakout potential. We can use Quantum as an example also, right? They're not making the money, and you think that they're going to 5-10x in value, i.e. Palantir, right? Palantir went bananas, right? So I'm looking at okay, well, I think Tempest AI, I still think it's way too cheap. I think they're going to be making a lot of money. Their revenue's really good. The revenue, it's growing. It's doing fantastic, right? But I want to buy them cheaper, right? And I want to be able to hold this name, or I want to be able to, I think they're going to blow up in the next 2 years, right? Well, this is where you get interesting. This is where those names, you start getting some real opportunity. Because again, over the past few weeks, obviously it's only been going up, right? And this is where you start to love things, right? So I would look at higher timeframes, find the massive supports of where you're at, and then understand that, look, I'm going into this, either have a stop loss of where you get out of this, like in this case, getting below 200 SMA, I'd probably stop out, or you size for 0. You say, I'm buying a year out on these contracts. I'm not going to look at them. I'm going to buy them. I'm going to have a set amount that I'm just going to slowly buy into on options. And I'm going to let it run. Why not let it fly? Let it fly, right? That's what you're looking at there. And that's how I'm attacking this right now. Now, again, I'm going to have more names coming out there, especially in this category that I think are big opportunities. But I think it's very important that the risk with a name like a big opportunity plays. I can use Snapchat as an example. I think Snapchat right now, honestly, is a really interesting play. If it gets down to $7, I don't know how much I'll buy. I'm going to tell you right now. They just have some good things going on with their subscription count, and I think that this could go up, to be honest, towards $10, $11. But still, right? I'm going to be going into these places where either I'm going to size for 0, meaning either I lose it all in a year, or I make money and take out of the trade, right? That's what you're doing. So understand the categories of where you're at and what your ultimate goals are. And I don't think people know the difference. If I'm talking about buying dips, I'm not saying, okay, I'm going to go, if I have $10,000, I'm going to put $5,000 into the market tomorrow and whoo, let's let it fly, baby. Let's see what happens. I'm a genius. That's not what I'm doing. That is not what I'm doing. If I'm long-term buying a dip, it is dropping it in the bucket, just slowly over time, just dabbling, just tap it in, just tap it in. That's my mentality. If you have any questions, comment down below. Discord link, Twitter link, all that's down below as well. Have a good one, traders. See you tomorrow.